Welcome back. In this video, we are going to be fleshing out the scenes. So far, we made all the main scenes, then we've got a couple of back pocket encounters as well. And now let's look at fleshing out these scenes. Now, I created a framework called Legend where each letter stands for something. All right? I'm going to explain it and then we'll go over it in detail. Location. Where does the scene happen? Enemies. What are the obstacles the PCs will need to overcome? What is the goal? That's G. The PCs get from the scene. What's the epic thing? What's the thing that's going to make the scene memorable? And who are the NPCs? And finally, don't touch that. What's the stuff that PCs can interact with? I think this gives us a pretty holistic coverage of fleshing out these scenes. Now, personally, because I've been doing this for a couple of years now, I have a need for only a few words for me to bring the scene alive in my head so that I can describe it to my players. But I invite you to do it with as much detail as you need. For the demonstration purpose of this video, I'm going to be taking this hook, right? Excuse me, where the PCs are, staying someplace and they get sick by eating some fish caught at the river. All right. So let's go ahead and flesh this out. The location is about where does this happen, right? It's got to be at the inn. And you know what? No, it doesn't have to be at the inn. I'm going to say that they are in a stall, right? So a hawker stall by the shallows of the Elbow Rot Creek, right? That's what we've established, right? So it's like it's in a creek side bazaar. I'm just imagining like there's like a bunch of hawkers on the edge of the creek. The creek is still meticulously clean because this is fantasy and I would like to have that, but that's where this is happening. All right. So we want to have a nice name for this hawker stall. Vijay Sales is something that comes up because it's a trending thing on Instagram at the moment. I'm going to call it, you know what? Let's dig up names. I have Indian place names. No, I don't want that. I'm going to go with a person's name. And then let's see what we get. Anagan Angi. All right. We're going to go with Angi. All right. So Angi's Fish Emporium. I think that sounds like a... Does that sound? No. We're going to call it Angi Fish Paradise. I think that's a good name. And there we go. My charger's working. It's a hawker stall by the shallows of Elbow Rot Creek. It's a creekside bazaar. Fair enough. Well, there aren't any particular obstacles, right? So in the terms of like in this scene as like enemies, but we did say that, hey, other patrons, they're developing rare magical disease. So what is this stuff, right? So I'm going to say there's some wild magic surge that's happening. And then there is food poisoning, right? And unconsciousness, right? Yeah. So basically, this is what they need to deal with, and then they're trying to find out what's happening. Now, if you can have the wild magic surge to be something funny, like projectile vomit, projectile sentient vomit, why not, right? So, and that stuff like comes alive. It's disgusting, but hey, it's projectile sentient diarrhea. All right, because why not, right? So this is what's happening in this scene, and the other thing is diagnosing what's wrong. Maybe we could have a witch nearby, so it's going to be tied to the witch. Cool. All right. What do the PCs get from the scene? Well, knowledge that something's off with the fish river, connection to the witches. All right, so we have Angi as well. I'm just going to jump forward a little bit before I forget. We have Angi the fisherman, and we have the witch. We don't have a name for yet, but we will. Imagine if this witch is a doctor. So, witch doctor. Remember, if you think this is goofy and funny and childish, well, we're playing a fantasy game, all right? We get to have as much whimsy as we can. as we want in this world. All right, connection to the witches. And all right, what makes this I think we got this pretty much cleared. With no player's ever going to forget projectile sentient vomit or sentient diarrhea. But you could also go like, in your scenes, if you're looking at something, I like making things really, really big, like just massive in terms of scale. Really helps like seal the things. And if you take like two random ideas and you combine them, right, that also makes things very, very cool, right? So let's just take some two random words. All right, so I'm going to take charger because that's near me, and candle, right? Now, just using these two things itself, you can make an epic thing. And what I mean by that is, let's say that there's like you've entered some large, and we'll use this later in the game, I guess. Let's say you've entered this snake god's temple, right? So snake god's head has many tails, right? No. Snake god has many heads. Each head has a candle lit underneath. That candle charging the snake god. So maybe I just took two random words, right? So I got like my phone's charger here, and I have this nice smelling candle, and I just combine these two, and boom, I have something which will make that scene memorable, right? So like this massive statue that's there, and then I see this and this, so boom, that happens. Of course, very few things are more memorable than sentient vomit and diarrhea. Why not? All right, who are the NPCs in the scene? We have Angi the fisherman, the witch or the doctor, and other members of the crowd. I'm actually going to be adding in a kid here as well, because that's setting the precedence for a time buying encounter. So we'll need a name. So once again, I'll go to my list of Indian NPC names. Igara. So I like Igara as the name. And the kid, we need a nice short kiddie name. Okesh. I think probably use Okesh somewhere, but no worries. Oops. Okay. All right. So as you can see, we already have a lot of material for us to work with when it comes to fleshing out the scene. But what really brings the scene out to life is things that they can interact with, right? Because otherwise the scenes just become like a backdrop, right? But we want interactables, entities and artifacts that the players can interact with. So I'm thinking, hey, these things are there. What can they interact with? I'm going to say waste baskets, so that they can try and trap the things that are flying around. I'm also going to say that we have kadais. What is that called? Woks. Woks that are thrown to catch the effluent, right? Flopping fish, right? These are all different things that players can actually use to interact with the scene in a more specific way. And wooden benches, right? They can use will be something funny. But usually in India, when we have these kind of like fish stalls and all that, right? They have like this cleaver and chopping block of wood that's there. Also want to have like some sort of tarpaulin, because why not? Flapping tarpaulin. We want to have the flapping tarpaulin because it gives them like, oh, I can pull that off. And the way we would highlight this is when we're setting the scene, we're going to like point out to a couple of these things so that players can register them in memory. Because as game masters, when we point out something, then like, oh, it gets lodged in their short-term memory and they can look at it. So that's it. So this was for like one scene, and it took us like a couple of minutes, right? Now you would have to do this for every scene. And I know it feels like a lot of work, but trust me, once you have all of this, the beautiful thing is your game prep is done, right? And you have loaded almost everything that you can imagine that you would need into your brain because of this planning. And when you have to run the game, it's just a matter of taking these things and assembling it in runtime, okay? Now, Legend is good, but there's one more technique called farts that I'm going to be showcasing in the next video, which you can use to add a little bit of like logic to your scenes as well and helps you plan. All right. With that, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.